Hey everybody, this is Cholera with Moletrap, the Trap of Moles, and we're casting Game 1 of Samson Khan versus Hwasun Oz, played on March 3rd, 2009. This is the Winners League, and Hiya is going to be facing the formidable Jangbi. Now, just as a quick note for those of you who watched Nada versus Jangbi in the MSL, this was played 2 days before Nada versus Jangbi, so Jangbi at this point is probably warming up for his best of 5 confrontation with Nada, which was very impressive. But let's go back to this cast. I believe we did some casts last weekend of Hiya playing in the match between Oz and SKT1, right, Moletrap?
Yes, we did indeed, and those were some pretty good matches. I was frankly surprised by Haya's performance. He's kind of a funny character because, he's not usually that good. I mean, you would consider him maybe an A class. Well, he's probably an A class player because he can come out and beat the best. But he's not really consistent about it, and so he's never had any real success. I mean, you don't even see him in even I don't know if he even tries out for the Star Leagues. I've never seen him in round of 32 or anything like that that I can
No.
think of. Well, maybe some rounds of 32, but he never really goes anywhere. He never really establishes himself, and yet he's capable of, you know, owning the best players sometimes and going 3 wins in a row in the Winners League sometimes. So he's a really strange cat, and it kind of depends on the day how well he's going to perform. I am going to give the advantage to Jangbi though. I mean, Jangbi is just playing, as Diggy would put it, out of his mind lately, and he's been practicing his PBT, which is his best matchup, which is he's considered to have arguably the best Protoss versus Terran in the game. And so Haya is he's gonna have to bring out more than just his A game to beat Jangbi, I think, today.
You know, just looking at the Casper rankings, though, Hiya is one of those up-and-coming risers in the rankings. Now, of course, those don't mean anything, but in the month of February, he was number 4 most improved player behind Lida, Up Magic, and By Hero. The top 3, of course, advanced pretty darn far in the Star Leagues, especially Hero and Lida. Hiya, on the other hand, well, he's just been playing, like you said, in the Winners League, but still very impressive player. Given the fact that he managed to beat some of the best players last weekend. He beat Best and Fantasy, and he narrowly lost to Bisu in a crazy proxy game on Tau Cross. But anyway, this is the map Andromeda. There are cross positions, high at the bottom left, Jangbi at the top right. And, not much needs to be said about Jangbi. He is the best, statistically speaking, the best PVT player in the world throughout a very long period of time also. Although, just looking at the stats right now, I'm not sure if this was after or before the series. Probably it's after, in fact. I'm not sure. But Hiya is actually 20-9 against Protoss. It's his best matchup, and that's
Wow,
69% against P. That is pretty impressive.
that is actually pretty impressive. I didn't realize that was that Haya had such a good record against Protoss. So maybe he will be able to put up a good fight, I guess, against Jangbi after all. But like I said, it's just you'd have to go back and that's the funny thing about stats though is you have to go back and look and see if he was beating. I mean, he beat Best or whoever last whenever that was. But if he's beating players like Shuttle and
Best God.
Rock and Best God, then that's not necessarily a huge statistic to be proud of. It's significant, but it's not as significant as players who you look at their records and they're beating players like Jangbi and Stork and Best and all the consistently that sort of thing. So anyway, I'd have to go back and look at that. It could go either way, but regardless, it looks like he's just going to go for a quick tech build here. Probably going to see him go into a quick expansion since this is Andromeda, the king of all macro maps. Um, and probably going to see Jangbi doing something similar. He's putting down a core right now. So we're probably going to see him do a quick tech and do an expansion as well, is what I'm expecting, but, anything can happen.
Yeah, I love Andromeda. It's definitely, I think right now, one of my favorite maps. Next to Destination, it's just such a big macro map, and that fits my crappy Zerg style. I mean, actually, I've been playing a lot of Zerg, but it really fits my Zerg style. I like to play a lot of heavy macro games. I've been trying to weed myself off of doing rush games, going for some kind of technical build, but that's definitely helped me a lot when I'm playing, just to play some serious games that last a good 30 minutes, and trying to win it in the end game with a big economic advantage. advantage, and Andromeda's a great map for that, and it helps both the Zerg and the Protoss against their opponents. This is a pretty good PvT map. It's about 60% PvT, and here we're seeing a little bit of harassment from Jangbi, but Jangbi not going to get in. Oh, no, not going to get in there. Hiya has walled himself off, and he's got 1 SCV on gas, which means you're right, he is going to be going for a fast expand. Now the question is Jangbi going to go for something that counters a fast expand directly, like some sort of one-base tech strategy, like Reavers or DTs, or is he going to go for a fast expand himself? And either option is fine from him. I mean, it looks like he's not getting Dragoon range, though. Leads me to think he is going to be going for a fast tech build, and he is going to go for an early Robo. So this could be, most likely, it's going to be early Reavers, although early DT drop is also a viable possibility on this map.
Yeah, probably going to go. Well, again, if he is going to go for a macro build, he's probably going to go into, ranged goons with obs and then get an expansion after that or something along those lines, because that's pretty
Definitely.
safe build. And Jangbi, I think he probably knows that he's such a solid player. I think he probably knows that he can play really well just doing a really standard build. Jangbi does mix it up sometimes, but that Dragoon is chasing that SCV way, way far away, all the way to the other spawn point, and all the way to the corner of the other spawn point. That Dragoon is really, really intent on
Yeah,
killing that
it's
SCV, and the
hardcore.
SCV gets away. Oh, one more shot left on it. Is it gonna kill it? Probably will
Uh,
eventually. There it goes. Anyway, okay, back to the game at hand. Yeah, observatory going up first. I didn't see. Did he already upgrade range, or
no,
I,
no
I think it
range.
wouldn't
Didn't
have
even
been
try and show us
upgraded by
that.
now. Okay, so good call on that. So he's not going to go for the range at the moment, but which leads me to believe he's probably going to try and go for quick reavers instead after these observers. And he does have a ramp to hold, so I don't know, who knows. Or he can go for an expansion. That's another possibility. And there it is. So both players just kind of going for a longer term build. Neither player seems to be thinking about doing any kind of rush or any kind of counter rush or anything like that. So we're going to see a pretty long game here.
Yeah, I think Jangbi is just intent on faking out us commentators and the Korean observers also, because they seem to be staring at that cyber score as much as we are. Still staring at it, going back and forth to it. Maybe they're saying, is he going to pull a Stork and forget about going for range? But instead he's putting down a Citadel, so it's going to be a sort of a slower DT drop, but a DT drop nonetheless here. Now, right now he's in a fine position to go for it. He doesn't need range. The reason why you want to get range early, of course, is to deal with an early Terran push. A two-fact push is very dangerous if you don't have range. You need them to snipe those vultures, snipe the marines as they're advancing, and if you don't have it, you can just quickly die. But he has anticipated correctly that Hiya is not going to be going for anything like that, and instead he is gone for an expansion, and he's going to get DTs. It's a slightly later DT drop, though. I'm not sure if I really like this game plan from him, because you just look at his base here from Hiya. Hiya has played a standard fast expand game, which involves an early engineering bay after you get your command center down, and he's gotten turrets everywhere in his base. So if this is a DT drop of some sort, it's not going to really work. I mean, there's other possibilities. I guess he could go for some kind of crazy early Arbiter play. Not impossible. I mean, Best has gone for similar things, but, I don't know. Templar Archives going up as expected. So, yeah, not sure exactly what Jangbi's doing. He could go for DTs or maybe Arbiters.
Well, I think if he was getting Arbiters, he would have his Stargate up already. So he could put down Arbiter Tribunal as soon as
Yeah,
the,
true,
the,
true.
the archives warped in. Probably is. But you're right though, we have been seeing a lot of quick Arbiters lately. It's been like really popular the last couple months. So I wouldn't be surprised if something like that happened. But eventually, I think JB is probably just getting probably going to get some Dark Templar out just to kind of do some harassment. He kind of
There's range.
knows because yeah, finally getting a range upgrade. He's been spending all of his gas on tech, and so he hasn't been able to spare it. And there's the Stargate actually, so
Oh,
maybe
yeah.
I'm wrong about that. He could be going for the Arbiters after all. And probably just going to go into a macro game here after all. So I was wrong about that. I was kind of wondering because his observer had been running around and seen all the turrets freaking everywhere. He must have known that there was probably going to be mines out pretty soon or anything, something like that. So it was a little bit late for Dark Templars to do much good. But Hiya putting up a third base now, and Jangbi as well. So again, both players looking to just play some macro, and I think that's going to be benefit Jangbi because Jangbi I think he's basically one of the best macro players in the game. He's really really good at just macroing up. He is going to be a little bit behind with, I mean, in a traditional sense, with only three bases to three bases. But here he is setting up for fourth base. So it looks like Jangbi probably just wants to get his tech out. Basically, he's like, you know what? Let's skip the mid game. Let's skip the early game. Let's just go straight to get late game. Get some
Yeah,
arbiters. Get four or
no
five
rush
bases
15.
and go at it with max armies. How about it?
Yeah, definitely. It's playing like a no rush 15 style. I remember a long game on a similar map, Byzantium 2, which also could be very very macro heavy. Corner positions best versus. I think it was, I don't remember who the opponent was. It was a boring Terran, and Terran, it was basically a no rush 15. Best comes out at the end with an overwhelming force, recalls, and it's GG. Just instant GG like that. So Jangbi might be taking the page out of Best's book there. And, the thing is, he can expand right now pretty safely because Hiya has gone for a very safe Flash-esque build. He's gone for, very early upgrades and, getting all that detection, but he's only now getting his second and third factory, so we just saw them going up. He scanned, though. The thing is, he just scanned Jangbi's tech right there, and he's seen the Arbiters. This is going to really affect his play because I think it's going to make him want to go for an earlier push, or on the other hand, he could go for earlier Science Vessels, which are a great counter against this. And instead, looks like he is going to go for 6 factories total. He is going to be trying to go for an early timing attack here. He's going to try to get Jangbi before he can really get any stasis or recall out, and it's going to be a sort of a narrow window of opportunity here. By the way, I highly recommend you guys check out Nada versus Jangbi. Jangbi definitely shows both strong conventional and unconventional warfare in that series. Both players do. There's just tons of proxying going on, tons of rushing, along with some pretty epic long-term games. So definitely check that out. But anyway, it looks like Jangbi's right now content at expanding, but I do think this is a sort of a mistake, though, because he hasn't gotten any harassment off on Hiya. And, Hiya, if he's at all a competent Terran player, he is just going to be able to macro up an army and go for this timing attack, and we see how many factories are coming out here. This is going to be a very prime moment in the next few minutes for him to get tons of vultures and then go for the attack.
Yeah, I think he is looking to just make a big, huge push here because I was noticing I'm trying to keep an eye on his command centers. There is an Arbiter coming in here towards the front. I'm not sure if it's just going to rendezvous with those few Dragoons or if it's meant for an attack of some kind. But look, Hiya actually trying to push out here. I don't think he's going to go for like a full-on push at this point, but I could be wrong. It looks like, yeah, actually he probably is.
He
He
is.
hasn't been producing, he definitely is, okay. He hasn't been producing a lot of SCVs. I think he's just going for an almost all-in timing attack here. He doesn't have a lot of saturation at his bases also, which leads me to believe this is kind of all-in. And again, like you said, the 6 factories going down. So he is really just going to try and push out here and just go straight for the jugular right off the bat before Jangbi can get his macro going too much, and Jangbi having to fall back with this little paltry group of Dragoons now, and here Hiya trying to set up shop in the middle of the base, trying to set up, sorry, the middle of the map rather, trying to set up shop there and establish a bit of a containment, and that makes a lot of sense actually for that position. It's kind of the closest place he can place a turret. Andromeda is kind of weird. There's a lot of places. Oh, invisible mind drag with the
Nice.
with the zealot
Invisible
with
mind
the
drag.
arbiter.
Tim.
Nicely done. And he's gonna try and do it again. The mines do go off, and the comset goes off, but he doesn't kill the zealot in time. Another mind drag going off there. So this is gonna be one of those situations where the Protoss just has to hold out and hold out and hold out as long as possible, and then finally try and break out of their base. Try and slow down the Terran as much as possible, and finally break out. And I think it'll come down to that breakout maneuver. If he can push out and destroy this push with all he can work up in the next few minutes, or if the contain holds, then obviously that's going to go the other way.
Yeah, I mean, Jangbi in big trouble. As you saw, at the 3 o'clock, he's not even mining. He didn't get a chance to transfer probes, and now he's going to go for a recall. +1 attack done for a while for Hiya, and, the thing is, he doesn't have his storms. Jangbi is stormless right now, and Jangbi relies on his storms. I mean, seriously, he wins PvTs almost all the time with storms, and this is a horrible recall trap here. If he recalls on the mines, 2 mines land.
No.
That's some 4 dead Dragoons and a bunch of injured ones, and now I don't even think this force is going to be able to take care of these just couple of vultures waiting for them, a couple of tanks coming back here, and that's going to be it for this force. This force is not going to do anything. This recall was a total dud for Jangbi, and Jangbi now is in dire straits right now. His one gambit has totally failed. Hiya Fu with some very nice anticipation, scouting it, and now Jangbi stormless and without much of an army and without an economic advantage of any sort. Hiya right now can either strike for the main directly. He's already stopping mining, of course, at that mineral only as we're seeing, or he can take out the 3 o'clock and really just cement his victory here.
I'm actually kind of surprised that Hiya hasn't sent. All he would need to do is send like 1 tank and a Goliath down to the 3 o'clock location. He'd be able to shut that base down and really secure things. But instead, he's letting Jangbi mine over there. I don't think it's going to make too big of a difference here. Jangbi has managed to squeeze out a few Dragoons. They're going to be able to run around and just kind of do some harassment in general. It's always nice to have a little force outside of the contain, so you can go run around and try and pick off reinforcements, try and do harass new bases and things like that. Like this one here is going to get shut down by those Dragoons, as a matter of fact. Okay, there he goes, 2 tanks assaulting that Nexus, so it is going to go down before too long. So yeah, Jangbi is in a lot of trouble here. He's going to go in for another recall. That first recall was really, really well defended. This one not as much so. And if he could do a decent recall here and shut down those factories, I don't think it's going to win him the game, but it might get him a little bit of time to get back into the game. Here comes the recall going down right in the middle of the factories. There aren't a lot of forces there this time to catch them. Another Arbiter gets recalled in as well, so he has the potential for some stasis or a second recall. And this actually could turn things back around and give Jangbi a chance back in this game.
Yeah, absolutely. This is some really serious Best style play here. Best, of course, revolutionizing PvT a little bit by going for very early recalls consistently and just doing so much damage with them. But the question is Jangbi going to lose his main right now? If Hiya decides to go directly for the front, Jangbi has just recalled his entire army away, so this could be an elimination battle of sorts. But Hiya looks like he's actually pulling back. Jangbi has not taken down any of the factories yet, actually. He's just too busy attacking these forces coming up his ramp, and it looks like the forces are going to win this battle, and Jangbi has been foiled again in this recall attempt, and I gotta say, this is game here for Jangbi. There's no chance back for him after 2 failed recalls like that. He's pinned in entirely, lost to 3. Hiya has really played an impressive game so far, and Jangbi playing a little bit too perhaps a little bit too much like Best, I gotta say. I mean, Best changes it up also. He also goes for more harassment. He doesn't really just go straight for Arbiters. He definitely needs to do something else. And it's not necessarily the best on this map either, because the Terran gets 3 mineral bases just in their main, so they don't have to expand. They're not as vulnerable to recalls as if, they had to put up a wide, a far away third base somewhere. And Hiya, the mouth breather, looks like he's going to breathe some fire here on Jangbi in the first game.
The mouth breather. Here he comes in for another recall, though. And, the mine goes down. Is he going to be able to kill? He does kill the mine, so it doesn't do damage. And, yeah, like you said before, that recall before critically didn't really do a lot of major damage. He didn't take out factories. He didn't take out any economy or anything like that. And that's really what he needed to do. He did take out a lot of reinforcements, but again, I think that just delayed his own demise. If those reinforcements had gotten to the front, then Hiya would have been able to do a push and just destroy his natural expansion and clinch the game. So it only delayed things, but this time Hiya has a lot more forces in his main base. I think total buildings he killed there was like a control tower, and didn't kill as many forces that time either. So things looking really, really bad for Jangbi at this point. He has managed to get a group of forces out of his front door. The seal that Hiya has isn't complete. It's not a full contain at this point. And so it looks like he might go in for a flank. He's going to try and break out. He's going in with forces from both sides. His main force from his main and a flank from the other side as well. And he destroys a lot of tanks with some mine drag. Not enough support units, though. Some Dragoons coming in, but just not enough. And the Vultures getting there just in time to stave off those last couple Zealots as well. Single Dragoon retreating back to the main base. I think that was Jangbi's last ditch attack. I mean, if he'd somehow managed to mystically break out of there, he might have been able to come back into this game, but I think it's pretty much over at this point.
Stasis on 2 tanks. I gotta say, no matter if Jangbi loses or not, which it does look like he is, that was some pretty damn impressive end run right there. That was an amazing flank attack. He just ran that Arbiter through, and under the Arbiter were a couple of speed lots that just dragged the crap out of those tanks over there. Mine dragged the crap out of them. Jangbi playing an impressive game. I think most Protosses would have just GG'd by this point, even though Jangbi is pretty much in a hopeless situation. He's still trying to make the best out of it. But, I gotta say, he didn't go for a Reaver Harass. He went for an early robotics facility, but didn't really take the advantage of having that Robo. He didn't go for any kind of Bulldog strategy that might have worked out well for him also. He just kind of sat around and said, okay, I'm going to play a macro game. And GG coming from Jangbi. And you don't necessarily want to play a big macro game with a Terran player on Andromeda, especially if you're not even getting that big of an early lead by expanding. So Jangbi going for fast arbiters, and it was a pretty fast failure for him.
Yeah, I think it might have worked if Hiya had been going for a more longer term game as well, instead of just going for a timing push off 3 bases. If he'd been
Right.
thinking about
Smart reaction.
pushing out to take a fourth and playing a really long, 180 supply push game or something like that, it might have worked for Jangbi to start expanding so early. But he just got timing attacked by Hiya, and I'm actually really impressed by Hiya here, beating Jangbi, which is not an easy task to accomplish.
Yeah, the best PVT player out there, slain by Hiya here, and we're going to be moving on to set 2. Thanks for watching.